Hello and welcome to Fjällräven Polar Global Launch Event leading up to Fjällräven Polar 2023. My name is Carl Hårdav Segerstad and I am the Global Event Manager at Fjällräven, working with this fantastic event. And I have the absolute pleasure to sit here at Vinkeladan in the Kungliga Djurgården outside of Stockholm, together with my friend and colleague Sofia Johansson.
Hi, so I'm Sofia and I'm a Fjällräven friend since many years back, and I am super excited to be guiding you today through the application process of Fjällräven Polar 2023. Just before we kick off, I just want to mention that you can post questions along the way, and then we'll pick them up later through the show as well. Most importantly of all, I do hope this is going to be an hour filled with inspiration for Fjällräven Polar, but most importantly of all, inspiration for outdoor life in general.
Yeah, I mean, Fjällräven Polar is an epic adventure for anybody, and we'll talk a lot about that. But we really do this because we think it's so important to spend time in nature and to do that also in the winter time. You learn so much from that, and if you don't appreciate nature, you will never really start to care for it. So that's what's driving me a lot in this, I would say. Fjällräven Polar is really a 300-kilometer long dog sled adventure through the Nordic Arctic tundra, and we believe anybody can do that. And this is actually what it looks like. If we can see the film.
Not many people get a chance to do this, and if you can actually get here and get on this trip, you know, it is an experience of a lifetime. You know, you're gonna work as a team, you're gonna be cold, you're gonna be hungry, but you're gonna be happy, you're gonna have fun, and you get to spend time with these beautiful animals, you know? And it's just, yeah, once in a lifetime. It really is once in a lifetime.
Yes, this is what it really looked like back in April this year when we started to prepare for the third iteration and the third variant of Fjällräven Polar. And yeah, it's super exciting to be here and share this with you again. And what we will cover over this hour today is a little bit of the history of Fjällräven Polar, looking backwards, how it really started, and an introduction to what it will be in 2023, who can apply. We'll cover all that.
And then we'll go into the second part and we will have a look at the new route for 2023. It has been changed a little bit. We do have some other news as well, but the route has been changed. And we will also meet some of the Fjällräven Polar alumni. We'll both cover it by film, but we'll also have a former participant here in the studio with us. And we'll also pick up some of the questions that we mentioned you could type for us as well.
Yeah, for people that are already acquainted and know what Fjällräven Polar is about, there will be some news also on the application process, and that we will cover coming along through the show before we explain how to actually get there, the jury process, and also the challenges. The first challenge for you guys that want to apply will be revealed at the end of the show, and the application will actually open. So it's super exciting. As you see also on this slide, we have some question and answer sessions throughout the show, and please post your questions in the Q&A functionality if you are in the login mode. If you watch over YouTube, we will attend to questions that you post in the comment field.
So, but Carl, I think we should just dive in straight away. What about the history? Let's start there.
How did it all start? Well, Fjällräven started by a man called Åke Nordin. And back in 1993, he hooked up with one of Sweden's nowadays most experienced dog sled mushers, Kent Fjällborg. And together they went to Alaska to experience Iditarod, which is an iconic and one of the world's toughest dog sled races. And Åke got really inspired by this experience, and he really wanted to do something similar in Sweden. So a few years later, they actually together managed to pull off the first Fjällräven Polar, where they invited amateur mushers from across the world, mostly Europe, that time, and they did the first Fjällräven Polar race. That went on for a number of years, and after a short break, it came back in 2012 with the new iteration of Fjällräven Polar 2.0 maybe, and that was a little bit more inviting to our community. You could apply over social media, and we focused more on the learning experience and how to really become friends with winter and become an Arctic explorer, and you know, learn the different tips and tricks and everything that you know in order to master the cold and to be able to do an expedition like this. There was much more focus on the education and the knowledge part. And now, for 2023, we are ready to relaunch after all the intermissions and all the disruptions we all suffered throughout COVID-19 and so on. So we feel we're ready to relaunch Polar 3.0. So we have some news in terms of how the application will work, and also a new route. What is Fjällräven Polar to you, and what will it be now, you think, Sofia?
Well, I think it's a really good question, and I also think that the history that you mentioned, coming up till today, it's pretty much what you said yourself. It's not at all a competition, and it's not at all something that you can just go and buy. It's really about inspiring and learning, most of all, how to enjoy this environment. And to be more specific, it's a 300-kilometer long race. It's over frozen lakes. It's under the open skies. Sometimes we can have temperatures actually below -30 degrees Celsius.
You manage that?
Well, you manage it by learning the skills. You would have to learn how to make camp in winter, such as the one we have behind us. You would, of course, have to learn how to dress accordingly.
Layer your clothing.
Layer the clothing. You would need to know how to adjust the heat, the moist. We also have some examples behind you as well. But I think most importantly, you would have to learn how to work in team with your teammates, but also with the dogs.
That's a very important team member.
It's very important. You would have to learn how to drive the dogs, but also how to feed them, because the dogs are the most important teammates and tools that you would have along this journey.
Yeah.
With that said, who is this journey for, Carl?
I would say it's for anybody who really would want to be an Arctic explorer, but maybe don't know how to get there. You know, this is for anybody who has an adventurous mindset, wouldn't mind losing a few hours sleep, not too afraid of getting cold, but also open to make new experiences and learn from them. So we believe that anybody without any prior experience or any specific knowledge actually can do this, because we are in the fortunate position that we can share that, both the products, but also the experience and the knowledge, so that anybody can enjoy this. So we believe that you can be the next Arctic explorer. And this is what it would look like. And this film was actually recorded at the last expedition that we managed to do back in 2019.
It's been the greatest days of my life, pretty much.
I'm going home as another person.
Fjällräven Polar 2019 starts now!
Learn a lot about myself. Feel blessed.
Fills you with a lot of memories.
It really, really does.
Yeah.
And I also have to say before we continue that you see a lot of emotions on the film, but the experience is actually so much bigger than that as well. So
Yeah, it is.
it touches the heart.
And I mean, as we were talking about, this is about to inspire people and to inspire you guys to come out in the winter time. And we have a question, right? What would actually inspire you to spend more time outside in the winter time? Anybody who is logged in at the moment can find this question and the answers that you can select from in the polling functionality. So we are super curious to know what actually inspires people, because that is what you guys will share throughout the application period.
Yes, and you should be able to see the question and the 4 possible answers right now, and we will look at the results a little bit later. And I would also like to remind you that you can post other questions as well that we will address later on.
Yeah, so what about news?
Yes. I think we mentioned before that the route is new.
Yeah.
Carl, can you tell us a little bit more about the why and
so
how?
So if you have followed Fjällräven Polar from before, we started from Norway going down into Sweden, going southward. Now we have actually changed the route 180 degrees, going from Sweden up north towards Norway and ending at the Atlantic coast, pretty much.
Why?
It gives us the opportunity to focus more on the learning experience, because with this new route, we will have shorter days in the beginning of the expedition and longer days at the last days of the expedition. So when the participants then are a little bit more acquainted to the duties and what you need to do, the days become a little bit longer. That means that the days will be equally long in the beginning, but it will be more focus on the education and building up the experience so that you know what you're going to do when it becomes a little bit tougher and a little bit more exposed. So we believe it is a safer way and a better learning experience to do it this way.
That sounds really good. What other news can you tell us about?
So we also have a new application format and an application process to come to this expedition, but we'll come back to that a little bit later. We have maybe some questions coming in, I think.
I think so. There might be
if you have any questions, you are welcome to post them in the Q&A form.
I see that we do have a question coming in, and that is someone is wondering what happens if someone gets injured or falls during the expedition.
That's a good question. And I mean, if you are worried about stuff, that tends to come on top of everything else. But one good thing with Fjällräven Polar driving behind dogs, you know, it's not a super fast activity. So the impact of a crash or anything is not always super big. It can be when you're going downwards, but we have a medical doctor on the crew, and we have a lot of experience in the teams, so we are able to manage most situations that can appear. But with that said, it's also up to all participants' responsibility to take responsibility for their own safety, and you know, you have to have margins. That's super important when you're out in this exposed environment, far away from all roads and all civilization. You know, you need to have a much higher margin to what you do, and because you are on your own.
So when you talk about having higher margins, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, the biggest risk, I would say, overall is actually managing moisture. Moisture is your worst enemy when you're out in the cold. If you get wet, regardless if it is from sweat or if it is from rain or snow coming from outside, getting wet will give you a lot of trouble, because the body will use a lot of energy to dry up. And a wet sleeping bag is completely disastrous. So I mean, that is something that you need to make sure it doesn't happen. And that comes with the right knowledge and being a little bit cautious and, you know, not running head over heels into all situations, but planning a little bit ahead.
Thank you. So I see we had a following question as well on the first one regarding to the fall. If you do fall and let the sled go, what will happen?
That's not the number one rule. You don't let go of the sled, period.
Good.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah. So you don't even want to mention what happens, or?
No.
No. Okay. So
You don't let go.
You don't let go. Yeah. Okay. Good. So we have another question here. This is an interesting one. Someone is wondering, should we train for this if we win a place? How fit do we need to be?
That's good. I mean, you need to be decently fit. You need to be able to move in uneven terrain and take care of yourself, and you know. But it's not a marathon race in that sense. You have to be pretty okay, but not Superman. I think we should move on, actually.
Yes.
It's a lot of good questions, and we'll return to questions a bit later.
Yes,
definitely.
we will do. Yes.
So. And the next section is...
Yes, I think we saw on that clip before about the emotions.
Yeah.
And for many of the participants, this is a life-changing experience. And Carl, I think we're going to have a look a little bit more about that.
Yeah, exactly. This film is on Kitty.
Yes.
I thought I have self-confidence before, but I was more self-conscious about my looks and what do I wear and how was my hair, or like, will people like the shoes that I'm wearing and stuff like that. I was thinking more in that perspective and not in, oh, can I actually climb this mountain? My name is Kitty Zaya and I'm from Hungary, and Fjällräven Polar has changed my life. I was born in '92. My mother was breeding huskies since '89, and probably around 4 or 5 dogs in the apartment. So I was literally born into a dog kennel. So I was always surrounded by dogs. I live in Kiruna, Sweden for 4 years now. with my sambo and with our 2 dogs, and I'm doing dog sledding as a part-time job. I saw Fjällräven Polar as a Facebook ad in 2016, and I straight away almost applied, but I didn't get in the first year. I got invited to Fjällräven Classic, so I did 1 outdoor experience before I did Polar, but the next year I got in. Even to this day I remember it was 38,110 votes that I collected within a month. I think it was way better than I expected it. Of course I was waiting to go for like 2 years, so I was imagining myself already there, but it really overdid any of my expectations. It was very, very hard, like physically, and that you all of a sudden, from a city life and from being a city girl and not doing anything like this before, you are one day just sleeping outside in a tent for another 5 days. So that was physically very hard, and also in a way that I didn't know what I'm supposed to do or what I have to do. So of course all the studying there and learning how to pitch a tent, how to make a fire, shovel the snow away and have snowshoes and everything, it was very something that I never experienced before. So it was very tiring, but it was highly, highly the best experience of my life. So I'm actually going to cry. We were 2 and 2 in a tent, and we were making groups of 2 and also make a group of 4. And I'm still very good friends with my tent buddy, Kristina. She's a very, very cool woman. She's a mom of 1, and she is like the most adventurous person I have ever met. I'm not the only one who had this experience, and in this way, you know, that who changed a lot. But it was really something that I will never ever forget. And I know when I'm 80 years old and I will be in my rocking chair with like my grandkids running around, I know that I will look back and I'm like, damn, your grandma was cool, you know, like I did this once. I went back to the office on the 22nd and I told everyone how nice it was, and I showed the pictures, and you know, everybody was very happy about me for like 5 minutes, and then I get to sit down back to the old life of mine, sort of old life. I think I felt like a little bit empty afterwards because I just didn't know what to do and like what to... I tried to ask others around me who I think they know me better than I know myself, but they were like, yeah, just you have to listen to your heart, and what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, I think I want to move back, but it sounds so crazy, right? And then I started to think, how can I do something similar to Polar and make a living out of dog sledding? So I started to search for kennels. I found a kennel in Kiruna. And by September, so like 4 months later, roughly 4 months, I was already training dogs. I think I gained confidence after Polar, most likely about that I learned so much during those 6 days. And it really made me realize that I'm capable of so much other things as well that I didn't know that I'm even able to do. So every time that an opportunity comes up in my life and I have no clue about it, I have never heard about it, then I just take it anyway, because what can happen? I just learn from it. So I think that's my biggest lesson after doing Fjällräven Polar. I like Kiruna the most because it's very close to nature, and just by 10-15 minutes of drive you get to be outside. So everybody's very nature close, they're living a very nature close life, and children up here, they are brought up a little bit differently. They have like snowmobile licenses when they are like 16, you know, they go out fishing. So I think it's a very cool place to bring your child and also to live for a longer period of time. Hopefully within 1 or 2 years I would like to be probably the first person who was once a participant but now a guide on Fjällräven Polar.
So this is one of the many profiles that we've had at Fjällräven Polar and that have really gone into changing their lives after being participants. And we are super happy and proud to welcome another of our Fjällräven alumnis, Babek Tolue. Welcome.
Thanks.
It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
What do you think when you see the film of Kitty? Does it
bring back
memories?
a lot of memories when I watch Kitty talk about what she experienced at Fjällräven Polar, and I feel the same. I got like flashbacks from 2016 when I did it. So yeah, it was started reminiscing the names of the dogs and the things that we did the 6 days, and it was amazing. It was a.
What was it that caught your attention, and why did you want to apply in the first place?
I don't know what happened. I just saw something on the social medias, and I said, like, I'm sending in an application and see what happens. And I got a spot, and I was like, okay, this will be another adventure. I thought, like, everything.
But you have done quite a few tours and adventures before.
So I thought that was like the same thing as I did before, but I think that it was so much more. It was amazing. When I saw the dogs for the first time, I said this is one of the biggest things I have ever done or will do. So it was amazing. It was.
Could you say that this journey, is it more a physical or mental journey?
I think that it was, Fjällräven Polar is like 2 adventures in one. You have your teammates and your dogs, but then most of the times you're alone with your thoughts, because you don't do the sledding beside your tent buddies.
No, that's true.
Because you're alone in the wilderness, and you start thinking about things in your life and get to know yourself much more. So I think there was 2 adventures in one.
So how have you brought back your experiences from Fjällräven Polar to your daily life?
I think that I'm like much calmer now. Everything doesn't have to go so fast. Sometimes you have to put it on the third and just chill and just enjoy the things around you.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the biggest things that I got brought back with me from Fjällräven Polar was, it doesn't have to be so fast. Everything doesn't have to be so fast. You just have to just relax sometimes and just enjoy what's happening around you. So.
Yeah, you see yourself. You're quite small in nature.
Yeah.
I think it gives you that appreciation, right?
Yeah, you were really small, but it was. I think there was. I remember one of the days, we were just riding, and all of a sudden I just fell on the flat on the lake, and I was like, and Hans Marcus, one of my teammates, he said, "What happened?" I was, I don't know. I just zoned out. It was like you got like the feeling of that you were a very small part of.
Did you ever feel insecure or afraid?
Nah.
No,
never. The musher that we had was amazing, and the team around was amazing, and now I was safe all 6 days. So
you freeze a lot?
No, I don't freeze so much. So for me, it was. I think that I love the winter more than I love the summer. So it was, for me, was the best climate.
I know, Babak, you have said before that in nature we are all equal.
Yeah.
But in fact, there are some people that have a lot of experience and some people having not so much experience. So what would you say to those who does not have that much experience but are curious to apply?
Just apply. This is a real good thing to do if you don't have the experience. You can just, because there's so much around the event with all the experts and stuff. So if you're a newbie when it comes to nature, this is one of the best things to do, because you're like you have always people around you. So I said just apply, see what happens.
As we said, I mean, we're asking questions, but if you have questions like to Babak or anything else, you can post them, and we will be able to pick them up here in the studio. We have one question on the screen right now in regards to if I can apply if I'm not on Instagram. We will return to how the application process works, but the short answer to that is it is based on Instagram, yes.
Yes.
You need an Instagram account.
Yes, and I think, Babik, we will ask you to stay.
Yeah.
And you will join us for this Q&A session as well. And then we have a new question popping up. It's, can I apply if I'm under 18?
Well, you can apply, but we will. The jury will not select participants under 18 years of age.
See if we have any other questions. Oh, this is also a good one. Is everything paid for if I win a place?
Yes, we cover equipment, the products that you need, and the travels from pretty much closest international airport, and then you will cater for everything from there.
So basically, you need to bring a toothbrush. That would be it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And any personal medication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. We have a lot of questions coming in. That's really
great.
exciting. Yes. Keep on writing, I would say as well. But this one is, what happens if the expedition is too much for me and I need to quit?
Well, I mean, we're far, far away from any roads, and we have everything to sustain and to survive in that environment. So the first thing you do if you get really exhausted, it would be to, camp out, get some food, get some sleep, make sure that you recover to the degree so that you can take a sound decision. And from there on, you reassess and see what your options are. And of course, I mean, we have backup plans, but the first option is definitely not to quit.
So I think also, Babik, I'm sure you can relate to this. You're feeling really tired at some points. Did you discuss this within the group, within the team?
Yeah, you were tired. It's long days, and you have to. When you do the Polar, the dogs are number one. You have to care for the dogs. So you forget about that you feel tired.
Was that something you thought about before heading out, or?
No, I was like, this will be another adventure as always, but you got much more energy. I remember when we started, we had a big climb, and my sled was too heavy because I had all the food and everything, and I weigh about 100 kilos. So the poor dogs couldn't pull me up. So I ran the first 100 meters, and when I came up to the top, I was like, will this be like this all the way? But it wasn't. It was the first 100, 200 meters that was like, got me thinking, but afterwards it was like.
But it's pretty cool. Are you saying that like the responsibility for the dogs and for the teammates makes you realize that you have more energy to take out of yourself as well?
Yeah, and you work together. So if you're tired, somebody will step up and help you. So it's a lot of teamwork.
Yeah.
So some days I was tired, and then my tent buddy or the team, one of the teammates were like, they took a little more responsibility, and next day
the other way around.
Yeah, the other way around. So we helped each other a lot. So it was. So we help. That's one of the things that you help each other.
Yeah, that's great.
To like get to the finish line.
It's good. Let's see if we have any other questions coming in.
We can return to questions also. And maybe move over to the application process. I know there is a little bit of anticipation for that, I think. So we have the film.
Yes.
For the application process, how that works, and then we will break it down into details after watching this film. So this you don't want to miss. There you got it. 20 seconds how to apply to Fjällräven Polar. And this is a little bit different from what you experienced. So from now on, we are using Instagram as our main platform for applying to Fjällräven Polar. And what you do is to go into our website, experience.fjällräven.com/polar. And there you fill out the application form. And the mandatory fields are like your name, your email, so we can contact you, and then also your Instagram account. So the Instagram account will definitely be central. And then there are some more details that you fill in, and then you're in. And then we will post different challenges that you respond to over Instagram. And when you have signed up with your Instagram account, we will be able to follow you guys, and we can see who is in the race for the spots and who has responded to the challenges. And we believe that Instagram, by this, provides a more inspirational way of sharing stories and inspiration for adventures and winter expeditions in general. And
yeah, I'm really excited to see all the stories popping up now during the following weeks to come. But if we should go back and address the question about, do we need to have an Instagram account? And you said yes, we do. Do you have any, if you are...
Well, I mean, you don't need to... I mean, you can set up a separate specific Instagram account for this purpose only. And there is no other connection. I mean, we know your name when you register, but that's nothing that will necessarily show on your Instagram account unless you share it. So if you don't have an Instagram account, can't have an Instagram account and show your personal life, you can have an Instagram account for this specific reason. But of course, I mean, it is what it is when it comes to that, and you still that's how we have chosen to do it, in order to have it moderated and controlled somehow using that platform. And what you need to do then when you answer to the challenges is to mention Fjällräven Official, and then you add 2 hashtags, one for Fjällräven Polar 2023 and one for the specific challenge that your post is aiming to address. So hashtag challenge 1.
And is it just one photo, or could it be flexible?
It could be a photo, it could be a number of photos of images, it can also be an up to 1 minute long video. And you can also make more than one post on the same challenge, it's pretty much up to you. And then there are 3 challenges throughout the application process, and you need to respond to each of the different challenges and, kind of look at what we are actually asking for and address that question.
So I know this is not really a time for Q&As, but we did get a question now that is really important, I think. Is it possible to sign up as a team?
No. You apply to Fjällräven Polar as an individual. And then we have a jury that selects the winners. And in contrast to what we have done before, when you applied, Babek, we had a voting mechanism over Facebook. And now we have taken the voting out of the application process, and we will have a jury that looks at all the relevant applications and then selects those that we think fit best to has responded to the challenges in the best way.
Yeah, so that was actually, if you could give us a more detailed introduction on how the winners are chosen, but basically it's a jury.
It's a jury. It's a jury selection through that will be deciding all spots to Fjällräven Polar this year. What do you think about this new way?
I think that it sounds much better than before, because now you don't have to. It's not so hysterical as it was. It was crazy before when you were hunting votes. This is more an equal plane.
That triggered a lot of behavior. That at the end of the day, it triggered a lot of behavior that we really didn't want to see. And so I hope this will be easier to be inspirational and to show both why you would want to go and answer to the challenges in an inspirational way. I hope so. So there will be we can take a look at maybe how the jury will work and what they will look at.
Yes.
And talk about that a little bit. So what the jury is looking for is that you need to complete all 3 challenges. And of course be registered on our platform. And then also staying true to the actual challenge. So that's also relevant. You can't just post anything. You need to actually address the question. And then we will look at, the jury will look at the capacity to inspire others. And that's interesting because to us that can be both like the quality of the post that you share. If you are creative and you do it in an inspirational way, that is equally important as if the post has a lot of reach and shares and comments. But that will also, of course, be relevant. Then, if you reach a lot of people, then that also is inspirational, I think. And then the jury has an objective to put together an as diverse group as possible. So we have taken a lot of work into finding a good jury, but also then strict rules to the jury so that we build out the team that goes to Fjällräven Polar in a diverse way in terms of nationality, in terms of age, in terms of experience, and in terms of geographical background and anything. So we want it to be as varied as possible.
We also have a question here. Someone wants to know who is the jury?
We'll not reveal the jury during the application process, but once the application closes, we'll reveal the jury, and then when this leads up to this winner announcement show that we will come back to, we'll talk a little bit more on who has been on the jury.
Could you tell us how many people are in the jury?
I think we're going to stay a little bit flexible on that because we don't know where this is going to end up. How many entries do we have to review? So maybe we'll actually need to adjust the jury a little bit depending on that.
But we do know how many people are going to be part of the Fjällräven Polar 2023.
We do, and that is 20.
20. Okay, so there are 20 spots to compete for.
Yeah, correct. So we have another viewer question, Babek, to you actually. What's your biggest takeaway?
From 2006, the dogs.
Yeah,
the dogs. There's something so small, does everything for you. So the least you could do for them was to make it so comfortable as when we got to the checkpoints, feed them. Some of them like to get up in your lap and get like cuddled. The dogs. I was very sentimental when it ended. When I had to say goodbye to the dogs, I got like teary eyes, and now it was the best thing and the hardest thing to do was to leave them. But then the whole experience was a big takeaway too. It was amazing.
So when you were on the expedition, how long were you behind the sled every day?
It was, I think it was like a couple of hours every day. You started in the morning, you woke up, and the first thing was to give the dogs something to eat, and then afterwards put everything down, put the tents and everything in the sled, and then you started riding, and you got to the checkpoints at like 4, 5, 6. One day we got lost. It was amazing because then we had 2 more hours to ride the sleds. So I was like smiling all the way. Checkpoint. So it was long days.
Yeah.
But
because when you come to the checkpoint, it's not like time for Netflix and popcorn.
No. When you got to the checkpoint, it was like see that the dogs were happy and got what they deserved, like food and everything. Before you sat down and ate your food, it was feeding the dogs and taking care of them.
How do you get water?
Snow or from a hole in the lake in the ice. So
yeah,
but melting snow.
So that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, and melting snow was took a long time to do because it's not it's like freezing outside, and you have to put on the stove and gather things, and it was yeah.
And I mean, even though it's super cold sometimes, you still need a lot of water to hydrate because, I mean, your breath needs a lot of moisture, so you really get dehydrated fast if you don't drink enough.
Yeah, you have to drink a lot.
Yeah, so that's one of the learnings for many people. Okay, I think we're a little bit excited about the challenges and kicking off the application.
Yes,
formally.
but I think before we're heading to the first challenge, I think we have a result from the poll.
Yeah, so we asked a little bit ago what would inspire you to spend time in nature, and the options were like learning from someone that I know or know, knowing I'd be challenging myself, a local event with like-minded people, or preparing for an expedition like Fjällräven Polar. And the most people, 61%, have answered knowing that I would be challenging myself.
Oh, that's interesting. Babak, what would have been your answers?
Yeah, I think that I would answer knowing that I would be challenging myself too.
So do you have any challenges ahead of you, something that you are planning now, or?
No, nothing right now. I take it as it comes. I still love being outdoors, and I try to do it as often, but nowadays it's not so much.
Yeah, but I think this answer is interesting because it's also, you know, when you have a big challenge ahead of yourself, you start to prepare a lot. And that's also like a big part of the learning curve, I think, you know, learning how to manage the equipment, and you start to pitch the tent, and you train at home, and you go out on shorter trips, and you make sure everything is set and prepared. And then, I mean, many people say that getting to the start point is like the toughest part of the journey.
Yeah, but I think that something that makes a lot of people grow is to learn new skills.
Yeah.
So for sure that will be a motivator to...
yeah, you learn a lot of new skills.
Yeah. Okay, enough about other stuff. Let's go to the challenge, right?
Let's go to the challenge.
I know you guys want to know this. How do you get here now then? So the first challenge is in regards to your motives. Why do you want to go to Fjällräven Polar? I mean, it is different from anything you do in your everyday life. It will be super long days, tough environment, cold and hostile maybe, and maybe not a lot of sleep, etc. Why do you want to do that? This is something that we have prepared also in a film.
Yes.
So let's have a look at it. When you spend time out here far above the Arctic Circle with temperatures way below zero, you quickly realize how humble you have to be when you meet the forces of nature. We are traveling across the Arctic tundra, over the mountains, on a 300-kilometer-long dog sledding adventure, and we call it Fjällräven Polar. So there you have it.
And we are so excited to hand over this challenge now to all of you.
Yeah. And you spoke a little bit about your motives before. Would you, if you were to apply again, what would your motives be then?
If I would apply again, I think that my motives would be different from the first time. I think that I would try to be more humble when it comes to doing this before I do it. You got humble when you did it, but before it was like, this will be another adventure. But this time I think that I would be more personal.
Yeah.
And try to be more personal when it comes to why I want to do this.
Yeah, I think that's a good approach. I mean, yeah. What about you?
I think I'll let you summarize everything quite soon, but we do have a lot of questions coming in, so I think we need to pick up some of them. They are all actually related to the application process, so maybe you should try to summarize. What is the most important?
So the most important things will be to fill out the application form and upload your answers to the challenges over Instagram, as we talked about. And then you need also to stay on top of your email in case we send out information or any instructions to people that are in the application process. So that will be our main way of communicating. And then it's also super relevant to be aware of the timeline leading up forward. So I can share a little bit about that. See if I missed that somewhere. Here we have it. So today, the application actually starts. Yeah, you know the first challenge by now. Talking about your motives, why you would want to go to Fjällräven Polar. Then on October 31st, we'll release the second challenge. And that is repeating the same process. The difference is that you add the hashtag challenge2 to that submission. And then on November 7th, we will launch the third application challenge. And then you add the hashtag challenge3. So that's quite self-explanatory, I think. And then on November 13th at midnight, you need to have all answers to the challenges uploaded on Instagram. So you don't have to do them in any specific order. You can wait actually until all challenges are released, but we would definitely urge everybody to post as soon as reflect over the challenge, make a good answer, and post when you're done. But technically, you can come into the application process later.
But just to be clear, everyone attending this event right now are in many different time zones.
Yes.
So when you say by midnight,
that is
what do you mean?
Central European time. We are based in Stockholm and Sweden, so we take the liberty to take that as the center of the universe for this purpose. But being aware that we have applicants from all different time zones.
And I guess that just leaves us to say one final thing, and that is that the application is now open.
Yes, it is. And it's not very much more to say than the best of luck. And the best thing, I think, is that regardless what happened, you will inspire yourself and others to do outdoor activities. And if that happens, everybody are the winners.
Yes, and we really look forward to see all your fantastic stories and inspiration for this coming 3 weeks.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for tuning in and attending and watching our global launch event for Fjällräven Polar. And we'll see you at the winner announcement on November 23rd. Thank you.